discussion will be on the major ideas in the hairy ape. Okay, so let's see. I have already uploaded the major ideas. Uh, I can share the screen so that you can read it. Uh, let's see the major ideas. Can you see the screen?
Yes, miss.
Okay, so this I have already uploaded the material. You can have a look at it after the class. But now I'm sharing the screen so that I can explain it to you. So there are several themes. So first theme is human regression by industrialization. You know, industrialization started much earlier in the Victorian period, or even at the end of the Romantic period. And industrialization had a strong impact on the economic, political, and social life of Europe as well as the entire world. And uh, the climates of industrialization is people are uh, losing their uh, spiritual uh, and uh, emotional side, like they cannot think like uh, good a human being or proper human being. From the spiritual side, we can say that they are losing their spiritual, the beliefs and ideas. They are getting more and more materialistic. They have faith in the worldly life. They are losing their faith in God and other things like the afterlife. And as a result, their psychological problems are getting more serious. So in the modern age, we have seen that people are no longer acting like a perfect or balanced human being. They are earning, they are doing their everyday act, but somehow they are losing their faith in themselves, in their activities, and they can no longer keep their everyday life in the proper shape. As a result, there is a conflict of interest, there is a depression, a psychological trauma, a kind of inferiority complex. All the psychological problems are getting more and more serious. Now, we have to find out the major themes. One theme is human regression, that means the degeneration of human being because of the massive industrialization. Then, frustration of class. So, these are two major themes in the hairy ape. Uh, is it possible for somebody to read it? Who can read it? Uh, who is here who can read it? Maisha, you can read it. Who can read it? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear my voice?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, who can read it? Is there anybody who can read it? Okay. All right. Let me read it. I think your screen is not that much visible, right? Okay. So here, look at this. The resounding theme of the
Yes, miss.
hairy ape is the effect of industrialization and technological progress on the worker. You know, we have seen the workers, the firemen on the ship, and like Young is he's the leader of the firemen, and he is constantly busy with his activities. And Here the industrialization and technological progress have a strong impact on the psychology of the workers. Now, industrialization has reduced the human worker into a machine. The men are programmed to do one task, are turned on and off by whistles, and are not required to think independently. Today, the job of the coal stoker is actually done by a machine. Workers are thus forced into jobs that require nothing but grunt work and physical labor, which has in turn caused a general deterioration of the worker into a Neanderthal or ape like state. This is made clear by O'Neill's stage direction, which indicates that the firemen actually look like Neanderthals, and one of the oldest workers, Paddy, as extremely monkey like. The longer the firemen work, the farther back they fall on the human evolutionary path. Thus, Paddy, one of the oldest, is especially monkey like. As a whole, the play is a close investigation of this regressive pattern through the character Young. The play marks his regression from a Neanderthal on the ship to an actual ape at the zoo. So, here we have seen that how industrialization uh, impacted or impacts the life of the people. They are now working emotion, passion, feelings, and humanity. Because as a result of the industrialization, people are forced to work day and night to get profit, not for themselves but for the the upper class, those who are the
Need a
owners,
professional website?
like
I
the
created one
factory
for our startup
owners or
using
the
Wix. Let me show you how
those
I
who
did it.
are
First, go to Wix.com.
dominating the
Our
lives of
startup
the
is constantly
workers.
evolving, and
So
we need a
this
website that
physical
can do.
labor actually turns them into uh, an ape, uh, the hairy ape,
থাম্বনেল দেখেই
which
হয়তো
is
বুঝতে
actually
পারছেন যে
the
আজকের
symbol.
ভিডিওটা কিসের উপর হবে।
The title of this play is in fact a symbol of boredom, like the repetitive work, repetition, the work that has been doing by the men for long years, and there is no change, there is no creativity, there is no different way of thinking. They are doing the same thing every day, every moment, and for longer hours. So it actually turns the humans into monkey like, or into the shape of an ape or monkey, especially Paddy, who is the oldest, who is behaving like a monkey, who is happy with his own situation. He doesn't want to. Uh, uh, he's a traditionalist. He doesn't want any change. So as a whole, we have seen that in this play, O'Neill is showing how a man who is doing the same activity every day, every moment, he has been compared with an ape because of his meaningless work for the for his own existence, for his survival. Okay, so as we have already mentioned that it has turned the human um, into an animal, into ape, and this is the major cause of the industrialization. has been created by industrialization. Is it clear? Have you understood? Any question? Okay. All right. But if you have any question, you can ask me. Okay. So the first theme is human degeneration or human regression. Now, the second theme is the frustration of class. Now, the class difference, class struggle, which is actually advocated by Karl Marx. When you will read Marxism in contemporary literary theory, you will understand how the class struggle, class discrimination, or has brought major changes and shifts in the society, in the political and economic life. So here we have seen that Mildred, if you can remember Mildred, she belongs to the upper class, and Young belongs to the lower class. So let's see what is here. What do we find here? Mildred and Young are representative of the highest and lowest societal classes. That means Mildred belongs to upper class, Young belongs to lower class or working class. As Long would term it, the bourgeois and the proletariat. Proletariat means working class, bourgeois means aristocratic class. However, while Mildred and Young's lifestyles are extremely different, they share similar complaints about class. That means, though they belong to different classes, they have similar complaints against their own class. Mildred describes herself as the waste product of her father's steel company. She has reaped the financial benefits of the company but has felt none of the vigor or passion that created it. Mildred yearns to find passion, to touch life beyond her cushioned bourgeois world. Young, on the other hand, has felt too much of the life Mildred describes. Young desires to topple the class structure by reinscribing the importance and necessity of the working class. Young defines importance as who belongs. Class limits and determines both Mildred and Young's financial resources, educational opportunities, outlook in life, and culture. So the Hairy Ape reveals how deeply and rigidly, that means the power structure is like this. Those who have money, they are powerful. Those who have wealth, they are powerful. But those who are working hard, they are not powerful, they are powerless. But in Young thinks that society should be like this. Those who are hard worker, those who are working very hard, they should be powerful, not the people who have wealth and riches. So according to Young, belonging means belonging, like I have my belonging to a particular place. I can say this is mine, a kind of ownership. So Young believes that the ownership develops based on the importance of that person. Who is important, Mildred or Young? Then finally Young realizes that he is not as important as he is as unimportant as the monkey at the zoo. Okay, can you get my ideas? Is it possible for you to understand? Can you understand me? Saifa,
Yes, ma'am.
can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
If, if you have any question, please ask me so that I can help you to understand. Okay. Next point is thought. So the first motive is belonging. Then the next point is uh, thought. Now, according to O'Neill, or Young is a man uh, uh, who has a limitation, who has limitation, and who has his own boundary. And whether pressing his fingers to his head or sitting in the position of Rodin's the thinker, he cannot master enough thought to make sense of or come to peace with the world around him. Thought only becomes necessary for Young after he encounters Mildred in the Stockholm. Mildred and his class present a new threat that Young cannot eliminate or get rid of by physical might. Young is forced to think how he can defend himself. This transition is exemplified in the tink joke among the men. Before Mildred enters the Stockholm, Young finds thinking ridiculous and unnecessary. Um, He loves when he tells, before Mildred enters the Stockholm, Young finds thinking ridiculous and unnecessary. He loves when he tells the other men he is trying to think or think. However, after the encounter, Young earnestly tells the man that he is trying to think. Think means think, because this is the language of the working class people. That's why they are calling think, think. In fact, the meaning of think is think. So before the introduction, or before Young's introduction with Mildred, Young thinks that he doesn't need to think. He doesn't give much importance to thinking. But after after he is introduced to Mildred, then he realizes that he should think, or he is trying to think. When they joke and correct him in a mocking chorus, think he is genuinely hurt. So Young is very sensitive, and he is, hello, important, because initially Young is not willing to think. And this is the statue, the rod is the thinker. And Young at the beginning, he is not that much, uh, uh, he doesn't consider, or he doesn't want to think much. Now, thought only becomes necessary for Young after he meets Mildred. So Mildred forces him to think. Now, the fellow workers uh, who are the other firemen, they were they asked him whether he is thinking, and it came as a joke for them, because now Mildred, Young is trying to forces him to think. Now, Young's inability to think not only reveals his regression to a lower animal form, but also renders him unable to adapt to or defend himself in the world beyond the ship. Young's now first Young was trying. He doesn't want to think. Now he is trying to think, but he realizes that he cannot think. That means there is nothing. he can think of. So Young's inability to think shows that he is degenerated. He is not in his superior position. Usually, this is one of the skill of human being, that he can think. Other animals cannot think. This is how we can compare or contrast ourselves from other animals, because our human is considered to be superior to other animals, because a man can think, which other animals can't do. So when Young thinks that he cannot think, his inability to think shows that he is no longer uh, can be considered. He can no longer be considered a human being. He can compare himself with a monkey who cannot think, and that's why it frustrates him that he is as good as a monkey. Okay. Young's in a power of thinking. So if he cannot think, he can be considered an animal or a monkey. Then the next point is language. All right. So Young's idiosyncratic speech, characterized by chopped and mangled words, eliminate the possibility of Young's successes or acceptance in a world or class other than his own. But Young and the firemen who are working class, they usually stay in the hot and rigid space. Sometimes it is very narrow, very very crowdy, and fill this space in within the ship. In fact, it is in a place which is very hot, and sometimes it is very difficult to stay in that place. It's like a formidable cage, a prison. Okay, a very dreadful prison. So that part of the ship where he stays, where the firemen like Young stays, this is not a very good place. In contrast, Mildred and her aunt's environment, the promenade deck of the ship, is filled with fresh air and sun. So this is the contrasted picture of the two classes. Firemen who belongs to the lower class, they are staying at a place which is very crowdy, very narrow, very limited, a congested place, and it is quite unlivable. It's like a prison. On the other hand, Mildred and her aunt, who belongs to the upper class, they are staying up, at a place which is called Promenade Deck, and which is filled with fresh air and sun. Now, the ocean that surrounds them is infinitely spacious, and the general feeling of freedom abounds. The promenade deck is also symbolically situated above, at the top of the ship, far above the stokehole. Both the stokehole and the promenade deck setting epitomize the lifestyle and characteristics of the ship's literal decks and subsequent upper and lower classes aboard. So, from this discussion, we find that the two classes have their spaces in two different settings. One is staying at a luxury place like the promenade deck where Mildred and her aunt is staying. The other class, like the working class, is staying in the stokehole, or which is a very hot place, which is where it is very difficult to breathe. So the upper and lower class have two different accommodation. They are staying in two different spaces. Now, there are several symbols in this play. So, first symbol is the tinker or the thinker. Now, first, at the beginning, we have seen that tinker means actually the thinker. Young's impression of Rodin's statue, the thinker, is symbolic of Young's need to think. While he physically embodies the cultural symbol of a thinker, he cannot think himself. Every time O'Neill's stage direction calls for the actor to take the position of the thinker, Young has come up against an obstacle that cannot be tackled by any other means but thought. When Young cannot process the realities before him, after Young is shown out of the IWW, he immediately gets into the thinker pose. He is desperate to make sense of his situation and understand why the union would throw him out. Now, the first symbol is the thinker, Rodin statue, and though it influences Young to think, but he cannot think. He tries to think, but he cannot go beyond his own thought process. He cannot think creatively, and that is the reason of his frustration. So the real ape in scene 8 is the only other character that takes the thinker position. The ape sharing his habitual body position reflects on Young's own animalistic state. His mode of thought is no more advanced than the apes. So finally, at the end of the play, we have seen that Young feels that he cannot think, though his position is like a thinker, but he cannot think. So, and then he compares himself with the ape who cannot think and whose position is like a thinker. The way the ape sits, it looks like as if he is a thinker, but again, the ape cannot think. So now Young feels that he is like the ape or the monkey who cannot think. So another symbol is ape. Ape means monkey. Apes are everywhere in the hairy ape. Young is called an ape. Young thinks that he is an ape. Mildred thinks she sees an ape. Young tells people he is an ape. Senator Quinn writes that the Wobblies will degenerate American civilization back to the ape. And most importantly, there is a real live ape in scene 8. So the ape symbolizes man in a primitive state before technology, complex language structures, complex thought, or money was necessary. The ape represents man that is not only behind in an evolutionary sense, but is free of class, technology, and other elements of modern society. The ape is only concerned with survival. Now, Young is compared with ape, and ape is the symbol here because every time we get the idea of ape, and that's why it has become the title of this play is Hairy Ape, and the symbol actually shows a kind of idea that when the evolution started long ago, hundreds and thousands of years ago, the real shape of a man is like a monkey. If you can remember that the shape of a man was like a monkey at the very beginning of the civilization, when people they do not or they did not have the importance of technology. They do not need the uh, um, they don't need technology or money. Money was not important at that time. Even their language was very complicated, very complex. Nobody can ask. They used sign language to express their ideas. So uh, in fact, Young tries to show that he has gone backward. That means he has gone to the early stage of civilization when a man was like a monkey, an ape, when he didn't need technology, when he didn't need the smooth or sophisticated language to express his ideas, when he didn't need money. So the monkey represents man at the very beginning of civilization, when there is no class system, no technology, and other facilities of modern society. The only thing that the ape requires is his own survival. He doesn't need anything else. So thus Young constantly compared himself with apes, does share some characteristics with his early primitive relatives. Young, like the ape, struggles with his thought, doesn't understand the class system, has at best basic language skills, and is most concerned with his survival on Earth. In addition, male apes are known to be very territorial, obstinate, bullheaded, and aggressive. All descriptors that could be used to describe Young. So this is how Young compares himself uh, with ape. Yeah, I'm taking class. No, I don't want to talk. Actually, I'm looking for Malika. Okay, just go to room number after two rooms. Just go after two rooms. This room? Yeah, this one. Have you understood what I said? The thinker and steel. Mildred's father is a owner of a steel factory. So steel is both a symbol of power and oppression. Because Mildred's father, who is the owner of the steel factory, he is a man who belongs to the upper class and who is a factory owner. He dominates the lives of the people who are working under him. So here, steel is actually the symbol of power and the domination or oppression. Now, while Young exclaims in scene one that he is still the muscles and the punch behind it, he is all the while penned in a virtual cage of steel created by the ship around him. Steel creates other cages in the play, Young's jail cell and the cell of the ape. Steel is also oppressive because it creates jobs like Young's. It is symbolic of the technology that forced Young and the firemen into slave-like jobs. Now, in fact, still we have seen the existence of steel in different at different stages. First of all, the ship where Young works, it is to him it's a cage, it's a prison made of steel. So that is a kind of suffering that he's going through. It's a symbol of oppression. Then Young's jail cell, when Young was sent to jail, why it is considered to be a medium of oppression or a symbol of oppression, because the work Yank is doing, it's like he is he's not working on his own interest, or he is not working willingly, rather he is suppressed to work, he is forced to work like a slave. It's not the work which he is enjoying. He is rather forced to do this work to act to for his own existence, for his own survival. So that's why steel is one of the major symbols in the hairy ape. Okay, so we have discussed the themes. The themes are like human language is sometimes the other firemen, they are making fun of the language. Setting, we have seen two contrasted settings on the ship. One belongs to we have seen two characters, two protagonists, Mildred and Young. They belong to two different settings. One belongs to the upper class and the other belong to the working class, and their accommodation on the ship uh, indicates their classes. Then we have symbols like Rodin's the thinker symbol. Though Young is impressed by the statue, but it is a kind of, it is a striking contrast of his own feature that he himself cannot think. Then ape is also a symbol, because everywhere we get the idea of ape. And here, working class people like Young, they are compared with ape because they do not have, they are not doing their work, you know, they are not enjoying their work, they are not doing anything out of some kind of curiosity, some kind of interest or motivation. Rather, they are forced to do the work because of their own survival, because of their own existence. So as a result, there is no creativity in their work. And that's why Young has compared himself with ape. And there is an evolutionary process that we know that the primitive man is like monkey. He cannot speak